Joining right now is Joy Reid, of course, from AM Joy, Reverend Al Sharpton, host of Politics Nation, and Elise Jordan, MSNBC political analyst. So in that order, let's go to the Reverend first. We don't have the Reverend here. Let's go to Joy again. Joy, you're thinking about this. I know you have passions on this subject, and they are appropriately placed. So who's going to win the, as they say in baseball, the bounce of the ball? Because I think both sides are claiming new energy as a result of this whole episode.
Well, talking with Republican strategist friends of mine, they essentially said that the fight over Kavanaugh energized the Republican base, particularly white men and college-educated white women who saw in Kavanaugh their son, who's in a fraternity, et cetera, and were energized for the Republicans. It's not sure that can last the next 30 days, but the anger, the rage, the just the pure, unadulterated anger and rage of women, of non-Republican women, I think is something that can carry over. And I was struck that Mitch McConnell said, we all know the events of recent weeks have strained the Senate's comity and fanned the flames of partisan discord. Well, my God, who's done that more than Mitch McConnell? Mitch McConnell broke the Senate and then urged people to come back from the darkness. He brought the darkness. Mitch McConnell has decided that the Senate is the place where Republicans have absolute power, where Democrats have none, where they rule over women and people of color on behalf of Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell's own aims. This man brought the darkness. He succeeded in bringing the darkness, and now he claims he's putting a man of the highest character and superlative qualifications on the court. The majority of Americans disagree with that. They feel that Kavanaugh has been imposed, forced on the majority of Americans by a minority who wants to rule from the past. Mitch McConnell wants to rule from decades ago, but he is imposing order, as he sees it, on the majority of Americans. I have a feeling that the outrage over that will last longer than the sugar high of having gotten their man.
Well, let me go to Elise Jordan, because as we know in the Constitution, the Senate is not basically elected based on majority rule by the country. It's certainly not popular rule. States like Montana, North Dakota, those states can elect a very conservative senator for forever and not have to deal with the national passions at all.
Well, and Chris, I think speaking of the so-called Kavanaugh bump that Republican strategists I've been speaking with are excited about, where you're really going to see impact are in these red states where you had Democratic candidates who were in tight races with Republicans. Specifically, look at the example of Tennessee and how former Governor Phil Bredesen's numbers have suffered since the start of this confirmation process. So in the suburban districts that are, the House races that are under tough contest, you might not necessarily see any movement, but I'm looking at Senate races and how that balance of power is going to probably be solidified again by Republicans.
Well, don't stop there. Who do you think is going to win now, or has a better chance of winning now than they had, say, 2 weeks ago?
I think Claire McCaskill has a really tough race. I think that Marsha Blackburn, this is just a godsend for her. I think that Phil Bredesen was in line to win that race, but this plays very differently in Tennessee than it does in coastal America. But Florida, speaking of Florida, I think that Bill Nelson, actually, his chances are a little bit strengthened there, and you're looking at how that race has turned a bit since the primaries and also the governor's race and Andrew Gillum's candidacy over Ron DeSantis.
That's very shrewd. I accept that. I think you got some smart touting there. I think it looks good. And Nelson has some amazing life in him coming back there. I've always thought Blackburn was a stronger candidate. I don't think people are really thrilled about bringing back somebody from the past in politics today. I think generally speaking, Joe would agree with that. The idea of bringing back somebody in their later 70s who was out of the business for a while. People like Fritz Mondale tried to come back. Bob Kerrey tried to come back. I don't think people want to bring people back. That's
Chris,
not my hunch.
I would have agreed with you prior to some focus groups that we had in Tennessee. And I was shocked. It was the first time that we've had focus groups where strong Trump supporters went out of their way to talk about how they could justify voting for Governor Phil Bredesen just because he's remembered in Tennessee as a time of economic prosperity and as of, lowering taxes and not raising taxes and getting the state health care under control.
Well, we'll see. Being governor is an administrative job. Being a senator is a philosophical job. And I think people often distinguish in those roles when they go to actually vote.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.